This is the importance of it in this order. For preteen players, 12 and younger, at the top of the list goes the quality of the coaches. So one of the things that we've done for many years, and I just heard this again this last week, I was just at the National Soccer Coaches Association of America convention in Baltimore, and a number of presentations, but one of them I went to had a panel in Hennessy, one other person whose name I'm forgetting for a moment, and Anson Durrance, who coaches at the University of North Carolina, talking about the future of player development in the United States. And one of the things that they talked about, one of the things that Jeff Tipping, who's the director of coaching for the NSA, has talked about in the past, and certainly that we talk about with U.S. Soccer and USU Soccer, is that for a long time we've had things a little bit, pyramid a little bit upside down. In the sense that at the base of the pyramid, where the biggest impact on player development occurs, because it's basically the nursery school, the elementary school, the beginning of all of their experiences, we have had the least experienced coaches, the least knowledgeable coaches. And we've had the most knowledgeable, most experienced coaches at the top of the pyramid. This is not to say that we don't need quality coaches up at the top of the pyramid. But at the top of the pyramid, the quality of my teammates and the quality of my opposition is more important. Not to say that we want to give you a coach that doesn't know anything about the game at all, right? But because we've had less knowledgeable, less experienced coaches at the base of the pyramid, one of the things that we've seen occurring is big holes in the development of the players as they get to the middle and the top of the pyramid. So the high school coach gets the kid and wonders why they don't know what were some of the ones we were talking about, Jeff. They don't know
combination play.
Combination play.
Team
yes.
shape.
Team shape. You know, width and depth, right? And things like that when they're 15 years old playing on the U15 team or the high school team or what have you, right? So all these holes are there in their development. So one of the things that both the NSCA is now saying, that U.S. Soccer is saying, that USU Soccer has been saying is, we need to get more of our most knowledgeable, experienced coaches down at the base of the pyramid. If not coaching those teams full-time, at least doing what I know a number of clubs do. So they do things like, oh, okay, well, you're one of the paid coaches in the club. You've got the under-17 team that's going for state cup, regionals, nationals, and all that sort of thing. Okay? So you're the head coach of that team, but you're also, this is your full-time job, so you're also in charge of the U10 division within our club. You're not necessarily coaching a U10 team, you're in charge of all of the coaches in the U10 division and getting information out to them and providing to them once a week a model training activity, okay? Maybe a full model training session, okay? And providing to them, here's your lesson plan, okay? Here's some ideas as to what to be doing with U10s. And going and watching U10 training sessions once in a while, going and watching U10 matches once in a while. It's impossible to get to all of them, but I'm going to see some of them to get a sampling. Are we still moving along the track that we've laid out for ourselves? So all of those volunteer mom and dad coaches working with the U10s have this full-time professional to turn to on a regular basis. And oh, by the way, we've done the same thing with the U18 coach has the under-12s. He's in charge of those coaches. And the U15 coach is in charge of the U8s coaches within the club, and so forth and so on. So that's one of the approaches that I know a number of clubs have done across the country, is how they've given better use to the paid personnel, the paid coaches, whether it's full-time or part-time paid coaches, you know, within their club, to try to impact having the influence of those more knowledgeable and experienced coaches at the base of the pyramid. And in some cases, can we take and kind of recycle some of our experienced coaches back down to the base of the pyramid, maybe after they've gone through over the years with it. So one of the aspects that we need to consider. So what are some of the things that impact the scheme, impact the player development curriculum? Well, certainly the age group, it has to be age appropriate. No different than their academic development. What I'm teaching in first grade is different than what I'm teaching in 12th grade. And we're progressing up to 12th grade academics from their kindergarten experience, first grade, second grade, so on and so forth. It's all a continuum, developing their academics all the way through to high school graduation and perhaps beyond. Right? The same thing in soccer, no different. There's age-appropriate things that we do for them that are realistic to their physiological stage of development, their mental cognitive stage of development, their social interaction. Obviously, a 5-year-old doesn't interact with teammates the way that a 15-year-old interacts with teammates. So it's understanding all of those stages of development for the different age groups is a big, big impact on the curriculum that we put forward. When you look at best practices that's out there right now from U.S. Soccer, the best practices document, it goes by the traditional age groups, U6, U8, U10, U12, U14, U16, U19. In there it has, here's our general guidelines as to what we want to have happen in each of those age groups. We've got a more detailed one on the near horizon from USU Soccer called the Player Development Model. And it again takes those traditional age groups and gives more detail as to, okay, at U8 you should be working on this and this and this and this. At U16 you should be working on this and this and this and this within the 4 components of the game. So we've taken the 4 components from every age group and said, here's your priorities within these 4 components for each age group, U6, U8, U10, on up to U19. Then the level of competition impacts my level of expectation as the coach. So if I'm in the 1st division as opposed to the 2nd or 3rd or 4th division, my expectations to the coach are going to be different as to what I'm trying to teach those players, how often are they at training sessions, and then what are my evaluations of those players. The length of the season also has an impact. Again, my U16 season obviously is going to be longer and more entailed than the season for the under 6 children, 5 years old, 6 years old. But within the season, one of the things that I as the coach need to consider is I'm putting together my seasonal plan. Now hopefully in this seasonal plan, my club has given me some guidance, my director of coaching has given me some guidance as to what goes into my seasonal plan. But also, if the club understands this as a whole, if the club board of directors understands that this is a piece of the whole player development scheme, then what are the things in terms of infrastructure that we'll talk about in a little bit and resources does the club make available so that the coaches can have and execute a good seasonal plan? Within it, the frequency of training sessions and matches. How many training sessions am I having to the number of matches I'm having per week and therefore per season? Well, here's the little piece that, again, that we've kind of gotten the pyramid upside down. We have too many matches and not enough training sessions, by and large, in youth soccer across the United States. This is partly because our customers, and recognizing that within our clubs we have 2 groups, customers and consumers. It's no different than a private school in this regard. The customers are the parents. They're the ones paying the tuition. The consumers are the players. At the schools, the students. At the school, they're consumers of academic development. At the soccer club, they're consumers of athletic soccer development. But the customers in both cases are the same. The ones who are paying the fees, the ones who are paying the tuition are the parents. Well, part of the reason that we've gotten the pyramid a little upside down in terms of the frequency of training sessions and matches is that the customers think that they're paying for the matches. But when you send your child to school, you're not paying for the examinations. You're paying for the lessons that lead up to the examinations. Okay? You don't want your kid going to a school where all they do is take test after test after test after test, and they have few if any lessons to actually learn new information. So it's the same thing in the soccer club. And what soccer club board of directors need to do with the help of the director of coaching is to enlighten the parents, the customers, as to what is it that you're really paying for. What you're really paying for are the training sessions, where players learn new things about the sport and grow within that. Then the matches are in essence nothing more than the examination. They show us what our students have learned. They show us as coaches what our players have learned from us and where do they need to go next. Because no student in the school takes an examination and is perfect all the time in every subject. There's always something that needs to be learned. And the test for a good teacher is nothing more than an evaluation tool to evaluate where are my students and where do I go next. the individual students and with the class as a whole. No different for a youth soccer coach. Same concept totally. Just, you know, instead of a classroom, we're out on the field. Right? And the lesson plans are the training sessions. The examinations are the matches. And as a good coach, not only am I trying to win the match, yeah, I'm always trying to win. I'm always striving to play my best. But largely what I'm doing as a youth coach is I'm evaluating where are they in their development and what do I need to do next. The match is showing me what they've learned and what they still need to work upon as a group of players. Then as a coach I have to also consider the intensity of training. I can't have a physically hard demanding training session the night before a match. I've got to recognize where in the week are my matches, where then can I put in the vigorous training sessions, where do I put in the light training sessions. So it's the intensity of the training sessions, and then the intensity of matches I have to consider as well. As an example, one of the things that we're doing a poor job, generally across the United States, is the post-tournament event. Most of our teams and most of our clubs, after tournament, the next training sessions is just a regular training session, as opposed to a regeneration training session. Because if you've ever played in a tournament yourself as a player, you know that your body needs a lot of recuperation and regeneration as the next thing that you're doing in the schedule. Because I challenge any of us in the room to go play 5 matches in 48 hours. And that's what we're doing to a lot of our kids, because, and I say 5 matches because heaven forbid you actually win at a tournament. Because if you win, you go out of bracket, on to the next phase. Right? And so usually that's 3 matches in bracket play, then a semifinal and then a final, so you end up with 5 matches. So the last thing you want to do at a tournament is win, because you have to play 5 matches in 48 hours. It's child abuse. Right? If we did it with MLS players, they would strike and we would have no league. Right? So it's one of the things that we have to, either fewer matches in tournaments or matches of shorter duration. But if I am at a tournament as the coach, I have to consider my next training session is this regeneration session. So I have to consider the intensity of matches. And the tournament is just the most obvious one. Sometimes that happens in league matches. If it's a very demanding league match, because it's a good matchup, I have to consider this